In the busy town of Romakoro, Port Harcourt, lived a boy named Emeka. He was 9 years old, smart, quiet, and different. He walked with a limp, the kind that made people stare and whisper. His parents were gone, car crash they said. And since then, he has lived with his uncle's family. But if you walked into that house, you would never guess he belonged there, because in that house, Emeka was invisible. Every morning was the same. The alarm would buzz, footsteps would echo down the hallway, plates would clutter in the kitchen, and in the middle of all that chaos, Emeka would still be trying to put on his socks. Nobody waited, nobody asked. But if they did, it was just to complain that he was always slow. He had learned that silence was safer than trying to explain himself. After school, he would come home, drop his bag in the corner, and head for the kitchen, hoping. But the fridge rarely had anything for him. Not even garri, not even leftovers, nothing, just a plate of bones or a leftover bottle of zobo with Ada's name clearly written on it. She started writing her name on her item the last time he ate her leftover. Ada was his nightmare in that house. And still, he said nothing or did nothing. Because in that house, hunger was expected, but only for him. Hunger hit different when the fridge was full, but your name was never on anything inside it. One evening, everything changed. The front door creaked open, and in walked someone unexpected. Mama, his grandma. She wasn't rich. She didn't come with gifts. But she brought something else, something this house had never given him. Kindness. Emeka's face lit up like a lantern. Her hands were raw from years of work. But her hug was warm like home. She looked him up and down, saw how thin he had become, and her voice grew faint. She didn't need anyone to tell her. She saw the truth with her own eyes. She asked, "My pikin, you don't chop today?" She was the only one who still called him my pikin. Then one night, disaster struck. The generator sparked. Within seconds, smoke filled the hallway. Shouts erupted. The back corridor was on fire. Everyone ran, except for one, Emeka. The same one they called slow, was the first one to act. He heard Ada screaming from the storeroom. Everyone panicked, but he moved, limping through smoke, coughing, struggling to open the door. He grabbed the metal by the corner and hit the door. And then he pulled her out. The same boy they called useless had just saved the one who mocked him the most. Later in the hospital, Ada asked him, "Why did you come back for me?" He simply smiled and said, "Because I'm not like you." And maybe that was the truth. Uncle Stan didn't say much that day, but later he handed Emeka a small wrapped nylon bag. Emeka quickly opened it and found suya. It wasn't much, but for Emeka, it felt like the first rating his uncle had ever offered him. A week passed, the flat grew quiet again, but something had changed. Emeka now sat on the balcony sketching. He liked to draw. Nobody ever asked, but he has always had. His hands moved with purpose. His eyes, once dull, now held light. Mama sat beside him, watching. She didn't need to say much, because deep in his heart, Emeka finally knew. He may walk differently. He may come last in line, but he was no longer invisible. He was no longer forgotten, because sometimes the ones the world rejects are the ones who save it. On Saturday morning, the smell of fried akara filled the flat. In the kitchen, Ada washed the dishes while Mama was making the akara. On the kitchen counter was a hot, steaming pap. Emeka stood in the corner, pretending to be sweeping the floor. His stomach growled loudly. Then Mama directed him out of the kitchen, balancing a tray. She placed a plate of 2 akara balls and a plate of pap steaming hot. "Chop first, my pikin," she said firmly. For the first time in a long time, someone served him. Not leftovers, not scraps, but something meant for him. That evening, the flat was quiet again. The others had gone out. Emeka sat on the tiled floor near the dim yellow bulb, sketching on scrap paper. Mama came over with a lantern and a bowl of rice and stew, the kind cooked with firewood that smell of home. She settled beside him and sat cross-legged. "Draw me now," she teased. Emeka laughed shyly and began to draw her face. The wrinkles, the hair tie, even the scar on her chin. Mama stayed still, watching him eat spoonfuls of rice between strokes. In that quiet room, he felt seen, fed, and loved. Weeks passed. Mama set up a small corner table by the window for Emeka, his own space to draw and eat. No more scraps, no more fighting for food. She would place a plate of yam and egg sauce or bread or tea while he worked on his sketches. Ada passed by once, lingering at the door, then muttered, "Thanks for that night." Emeka just smiled, mouthful of bread. He didn't need any apology. He had something better now, love that fed him, body and soul. One Sunday after church, the flat felt different, not hurried, not cold, just alive. In the sitting room, the old ceiling fan turned lazily as Mama set down a tray of roasted corn and pear. The warm smell filled the air. Uncle Stan did something Emeka never expected. He called him to sit beside him. His gruff voice softened as he looked at the boy's sketches. "You get talent though," he said with a slow nod, and then added, "The same cousin who wrote her name on every bottle and plate pushed the biggest pear towards Emeka without saying a word." Another Sunday came and Mama cooked a big pot of jollof rice outside on the firewood stove. The whole compound came alive. Neighbors arrived with bowls, laughing under the mango tree, the air rich with the smell of spice and wood smoke. Emeka sat between Ada and Uncle Stan, unsure if this was real. And then, the Uncle Stan who rarely spoke reached across, dropped the juiciest piece of chicken on Emeka's plate, and told everyone, "This boy gets sense, so na him save my daughter the other day." The neighbors clapped and nodded, praising Emeka until his ears burned with pride. For once, all eyes were on him, not for his limp, not for what he looked like, not for what he lacked, but for who he was, Emeka.